This is iRacing.
The Hungaroring, a circuit that often challenges a car to its limits and challenges a driver to find an overtake rather than being gifted one. This circuit has seen a couple of iterations of it, most notably the extension over at turn number 1 in 2003, but a track that time and again finds itself on the racing calendar and provides fantastic racing, be it dry, wet, or otherwise. Welcome to Racing Action, where championships are as close as possible here in the IMSA Vintage series, and as we head ourselves towards the end of the championship, points get critical, times get more important, and suddenly every overtake will be scrutinized to the nth degree. My name's Jake Sperry here, bringing you the action on the Global SimRacing Channel. Craig King is alongside me as my lovely deputy for today's action. Christian Deploy is in the director's chair, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But a circuit like the Hungaroring is one that often echoes around as a circuit most notable for its Formula One style action. But if you are brand new, you've never seen this circuit run around before, here's a GSRC track guide to get you up to speed.
Welcome to the Hungaroring. Situated just northeast of Budapest, this Grand Prix circuit has racked up a stunning history in just a little more than 30 years of existence. Its biggest claim to fame was holding the first Formula One race inside the Iron Curtain at a time when the Cold War was at its peak. But most fans don't associate this 2.7 mile or 4.38 kilometer track with politics. No, its 14 turns make it tight and twisty with a reputation for few places to overtake. For a long time, it was renowned for processional races in which qualifying is of the utmost importance. But the past couple decades have seen a litany of utterly wild and unpredictable races that greatly overshadow the single-file events of before. The majority of passing takes place into Turn 1, while some battles do carry on into Turn 2. But be careful about how greedy you get, because the steep drop in elevation makes it easy to go wide. Other than that, Turn 12 is often the only other realistic place to sneak by your opponent. Perhaps the scariest and trickiest of the corners is 4, which presents a blind and crooked entry into a high-speed flick. Though modern times have seen a paved runoff added to it to make it safer, that's considered out of bounds, and drivers will find themselves being told to give back time if they abuse the exit. Built with fans in mind, the track sits in a natural bowl, allowing great views from most sides of the venue. It's easy to see why it's become a fan favorite on the F1 calendar, and there's little doubt it'll continue to see lots of racing for years to come.
A track that often offers a great opportunity to look and battle. We are on the Pest side of Budapest, and so as they set themselves up and ready for racing action, Craig, to get endurance racing around here, this is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, the last time they did any sort of multi-class racing around here in the real world was 2012. But nowadays, it's mainly a single-class series here because while the opening sections of the tracking, we've seen so many times side-by-side down to 1 and finishing up into Turn 2 and getting it done at 3, that middle section from 6 all the way to 11, it's too tight to make any sort of moves. And that is the danger point today for the multi-class aspect, because you can see drivers taking too much speed going around the outside, running the risk of off tracks today around those sections. And it's also quite flat with a little bit of elevation change, but it's the start of the track, this double quadruple hairpin section, 12, 13, 14, and then 1, 2, and 3. You're going to get a lot of the overtakes today. Apart from that, it is literally just a game of survival when it comes to the rest of the field.
And who survives to tell the tale at the end of racing action today is going to be critical for championship efforts that will be looked at as part of a Genesis Extreme production. Now, let's take a look at your GTP championship standings, because it is Jacob Reed, the data scientist, who is up on top. But the gold standard isn't too far behind. Just 23 points for Aldrius Valenteas to try and hunt down Gabri Martinez, third at 35 points adrift. And then it's a massive gap back to the best of the rest. Christophe Lenejak is in fourth ahead of Davide Riccardi. Ferran Grau in sixth position has a very close scrap with both Seamus Power and Jack Wells, both 1 and 2 points behind respectively. Brendan Lim is currently ninth and has the ability to jump as high as sixth in the championship with a jump up. Laust Olsen, with one working arm for the early part of the season, is now inside your top 10 at 10th position. GTO, though, could not be any closer, Craig.
Oh, it's absolute close at this stage of the championship because Cal Young on the verge of countback has the championship over Johan van Hixen. The championship leader, Noel Lundberg, or the current defending champion, I should say, it's just 13 points behind. I haven't seen a free car battle for the GCOs in quite a while. Mickey Friesen just on the outside looking in right behind, and then Andreas Schuster kind of in the bubble land there with Iker Costa-Salo in sixth. Fabian Jumblov just ahead of Josephine Becker. What a great first season in the main category for the GTO to Josephine, with Romain Bello in ninth. Martin Krajcik is 10th. He also leads to juniors for GTO, just 5 points ahead of the man who's 11th in the championship, Brandon White. And I believe they will be here today to try and make those points.
And they need those points because they know they're running out of time to score those points with the drop rounds that will need to be carried on over. So keep that in mind as we get ourselves set then for racing action today. But what about today's racing action? Round 9 of 12, 40 minutes on the clock. So this one's going to go pretty quickly. Open setup so you can fine-tune and fettle the car as and where you need to get it to work and sing in your favor. But on a day like today, with the barriers so close, no spare cars will be an ominous message to everyone. Drive through at 17, DQ at 25. Keep your eyes on a swivel for what will be coming on forward for these drivers. Qualifying is currently underway. They have 8 minutes to set a qualifying lap time, and they are permitted 2 qualifying laps in order to set those times in. The GTPs have come in and set their times. Jacob Reed is currently 8/10ths faster than anybody else in the field currently, but now the GTOs will be starting to head to the line as well as we take a look at the Worcester colours of the yellow and the green going through turn 2 into 3.
I think that's a drink for saying the Worcester man as he goes hard flat here. Remember when Alonso had some battles here with Hamilton, little bit of elevation change and then keeping the power down here into turn 4 and now into that turn 5, and now it gets tight, a little bit tricky as well. There is some space here, but then you get to these corners, especially at 6 and 7, no room to go. We'll run all the curb, hopefully not go off. You can see Van Hicks setting the pole already for the GTOs. He comes through now into 9, and now he'll get ready to set himself up for the last few corners. In fact, this is 9, then it's in to 10 and 12. And then this straight, the first chance they get to make a real overtaking point after that tricky middle section.
Just taking a look around as Reed hits turn 12 and looks to try and session his way into turn 13. Just try and make every corner open up, use some of that pit entry there on the exit of 13 into the long turn 14. There's no banking to help you through this section. It's flat and you have to wait for the power. Ferran Grau currently fastest, but Jacob Reed looking like this is going to be even quicker. 128.4 right to the top. No shocks about that. There is Valenteas. He is out there at the moment. Jack David Spickett fastest into the GTO category on a 43.3 at the moment. And I'm just looking down the names of drivers who are here today and are looking to race. I don't see, Craig, a Cal Young.
I don't see a Cal Young. Very interesting. I know not a lot of drivers have this track, and it might be a strategy reason for Cal. It might be busy, might be going around an oval somewhere in Florida. But Valenteas, really wide line, and I wonder if that wide line is trying to set him up for this second lap. Johan Van Hicks just took pole position in the GTO to Noel Lundberg. What a lap from Lundberg it was, and I can confirm that was an invalid lap for Valenteas. He's got one time to do it. Former champion, always like seeing the former champions. Kundalis is on his return season. He's currently in 7th from the number 7. He wants to go faster.
He does.
He's just going to do it.
He will. He'll go up past Mickey Friesen then, and that will be a time good enough to be 5th. Brandon White, currently 16th in class at the moment. He will need a lot of work to jump on up as it stands on this second attempt through. He's just behind Fabian Youngblood by about 1/10 of a second. So the number 33 with the Monster Energy stripes down the side of it is going to look to go through, because that is a Hooligans livery and representing the late Ken Block, by the looks of things, with what is trying to be done on a car that is absolutely beautiful to drift here in iRacing. Keep an eye out on Valenteus' second lap, because he won't be a million miles away from finding the finish either. There he is now trying to work that through, and you will find a cut like that interesting because we're in a closed qualifying condition. Most iRacing sessions are in a closed qualifying effort, so it means that you will get no tow from anyone else around. It's just you versus the track, the purest form of a qualifying lap out there, fighting for rotation. Through the middle of the corner goes Valenteus, nicely over towards the line. Time on the board, 28.7 only. 3rd for Aldrius out there. That wasn't what he wanted to see. Lundberg's second lap then coming to the line. He's half a second quicker in the Band of Others car than anybody else. And Craig, he does not need that second lap to count.
Invalid lap, he will take it, but what a pole position lap that will be. Cameron Wilson, one of the last drivers to come across the line, as Noel starts the old drift. Everybody else just coming on by. Only one driver out there on the track at the moment not setting a time. Four drivers, will not be setting a time here, as Cameron Wilson just coming on by. And we've yet to see one thing, though, Jake, what I did like to see there, the speed differences through some of those corners. GTOs having to really be cautious through these winding sections. They don't like that. GTPs, they don't really care. So that's going to be very interesting with a delta of 14 seconds today.
Well, let's take a look at the starting grid then, because all qualifiers are sorted and now they will line themselves up. In GTP, it is Jacob Reed who has got the pole position, the championship leader, over Ferran Grau and Aldrius Valenteus. There in 3rd. It is then Christophe Olenajak, the pole, in 4th position, with Raul Rosses and Jack Wells on row 3. Laust Olsen will line up 7th with Alan Breteau in 8th. You've then got Seamus Power 9th and Davide Riccardi rounding out your top 10, the driver from Switzerland. Brendan Lim will have to go from 11th with Joan Piera there in 12th. Cesar Hernandez and Alvaro Senuda will make it 13th and 14th, an old world, new world section there on the grid. Matthew Cockerham 15th has Andrew Macaluso there in 16th position, with Christopher Cornelio in 17th. Ryan James Ward didn't set a time and so is ahead on iRating compared to Juan Casoriano and Andres Felipe Diaz making up the 20. Craig King with GTO.
With the 28, Noel Lundberg has blitzed everybody here today. Johan Van Hicks said he doesn't know how he can find time out there. He's going to have to find it. And Jack Davis Pickett said it was a good time in 3rd. Andreas Schuster will be 4th, with Arturus Kundelis in 5th. And then Mickey Friesen will be 6th. Josh Brain takes 7th alongside Martin Shirley, with Romain Bello in 9th. And Javier Del Olmo makes his return again in 10th. And that leads us to Martin Krajtrick in 11th, with Timothy Reed beside him in 12th. Cam Porter gets the unlucky 13th. And Shadi and Mad on Valentine's Day is 14th. Aitor Sinted Galindo will be 15th, alongside Fabian Youngblood in 16th, with Brandon White 17th. Foreman Pollock 18th. Stephanie Leslie in 19th. And Eugenio Massa will be in 20th. And one more page, of course, Cameron Wilson, we just saw them going around in 21st. Marcos Roman Vasquez will be in 22nd. David Tomsky will be 23rd. Yoni Berg back in 24th. Max Moshchalov will be in 25th, with Nick Jones 26th. Matthew Miles will be the last of the time qualifiers in 27th, with Mackenzie Cook rounding out the 28 GTOs.
28 GTOs, and that to mix with 20 in GTP. That's what we call a healthy grid of 48, just the one split of racing action, which means that even drivers who have an iRating in and around 1,000 can be up against those who have 8,500 by comparison. Lots of blinking for Aldrius Valenteus then on the start, and he might have dropped immediately. He is very close to be sent back over to pits. He says he's got a lot to worry about now as they get themselves round the final corner. Watch out for the get-go here as they will look to start. Green flag in the air. Great jump there by Jacob Reed as we get ourselves underway for racing action at the Hungaroring. And Ferran Grau will be looking around at Elena Jacques, the likes of Wells, Olsen, Raul Rosses, all there as they now tiptoe through the opening sector of the lap. And they all find a way through. It looks like Aldrius has dropped, officially dropped, and that will be day done. GTO's off to a good start. Lundberg unchallenged by Joran van Hicks on the run through. Jack Davis picking comfortably in third as now they'll crest the rise out of 3 and over towards turn 4.
And they're trying the best they can. Mickey Friesen's already got damage running into the back of Schuster, and Schuster then got caught out at the start and went all the way back down the field and having to make some time up. More drivers looking to make time as well. That's Josh Brain in the red and gold livery trying to make some moves. I think we can say though, Jake, if that is true about Valenteus, and Friesen goes a little bit wide here, if that is true, and it is true, I think it's official. I don't think Valenteus now can catch Jacob Reed. He doesn't have the drop weeks in hand.
No, and that could be everything that you look at and more, that a championship can be wrapped up as early as round 9. You can see the damage there on car number 8, Mickey Friesen, and how much of a difference maker that will make with the front just a little bit caved in on that Audi 90 GTO. There is Fabian Youngblood side by side, having to work through this twisty section. Cam Porter off the road there on the right-hand side there, just trying to rejoin.
Just a little bit of a mistake there coming through the corners, and I think the car got a little bit unsettled and upset on the rear as he tried to go into the next corner, and that unfortunately through that 10-11 combo just set him off onto the straight and losing time. Back at the front of the field though, while those guys are going, these GTPs are now coming back. Valenteus has rejoined. I don't know if he'll drive much out there. He'll try and salvage something because Guardia looking for a late dive. Not really easy to make a move into 2 there, but still looking for it. Laus has to give the respect. We know, I don't know if it's true, Laus is meant to get his car stopped this week, Jake. I think he's no longer the one-armed bandit. He doesn't look like he's driving like it. He's looking like a professional.
Well, 2-armed bandit, then he will be just like everyone else. So for Raul Rosses, he will say he's very happy with where he is at the moment in P5, running through this 6-7 chicane, and then over towards turns 8 and 9 here, the left of turn 8, and they're only going about 130 kilometers an hour through this section. You are very much looking at grip levels, and you are fighting every corner that you've got to get off of the exit, to say, look, I've got this much pace, I'm going to try and burn it, and they are working well. Jacob Reed already out to a 1.7 second lead out there at the front, and it is busy in the mid-pack of GTP. Matthew Cockerham right now in the midst of this, and he falls himself to the outside and will try and work a way through on Joan Piera for position. You've then got Riccardi and Brendan Lim, who's leading the Silk Cut Jaguar livery, then in front of this massive slew of cars there that goes all the way back to Andres Felipe Diaz, the Colombian. Elena Jacques trying to get through, as well as Raul Rosses, who still can't find a way.
He's looking for the moves, and this kind of feels like the new era of F1. No DRS to make overtake. They have to try and work for this as best as they can, and he is trying to hunt it down. We go to the 007 camera. Now they go down the hill, and that's what makes that whole section so interesting, because you can go around the outside because it's a little bit higher up with the elevation change. You don't lose too much of that cambering, and that's why that's always a nice place to try and make a defense. But it just feels like Laus is turning in and taking that line away, rightfully so in terms of defense, not doing it maliciously. But Raul wants to get ahead here. I don't think it's the right time to get ahead. Traffic's going to be coming up in about a lap or 2. I think that's the opportunity for him, because right here you can see he's struggling in the dirty air right now, Klaus Olsen. He wants to get ahead to try and avoid that.
This is a sprint race. It's 40 minutes. They won't have to come in and make a pit stop, and so because of that, Raul, you're going to have to try and find a way through, and you might be able to drop Ross's Guardi off the back and be like someone else if that goes and works the right way. Andreas Schuster right now pretending that he is a Lancia Stratos out there at the moment. He's trying to get by Arturas Candelis, but look at that rear wing. There's a little bit of damage there to it. It's not flat. There is a bend and a kink into it. That will be affecting downforce levels on the back.
Yeah, no, usually you look at a damaged wing, you look at reducing top speed. Well, what straights have they got to really look to make a move out here today? The start straight and then that straight after turn 2 and 3. So I don't think it's going to affect Schuster too much out here, but that grip is going to be vital with these cars, because you we talk about their refrigerators, their boxes, whatever you want to call them, but you still need something to keep on going, like this clean car that is Timothy Reed. As we've had the Lancia Stratos,
we've got one in the wall.
And we've got one in the wall already, though. Did miss that just in the corner, and it's Mackenzie Cook, as you were saying there, Jake, at the back of the field. I was just saying, we had the cursed Lancia Stratos. What's more cursed, that or a Nissan GTP on a GTO?
I don't quite know, but it's very tough to deal with. Aldris, by the way, he's back in the race. He's officially a lap down as he went through. So Valenteus had already gone through. Here's Mackenzie Cook, just too heavy over the curb, just spins it round, and it is as Audi as an Audi livery can get, and it's in the barriers, and it is out of the race for Mackenzie Cook. Not much you can do. Timothy Reed now having a scrap, and so too Jack David Spickett, who said, finally, qualifying that I've got correct. And then he looked over, saw the time by Noel Lundberg. He was mouth agape, and he went, how on earth did you do that?
I don't think anyone knew how he could do that, because at the same time, we talked about it, Van Hicks could not work out how to get pace on this track. Cannot get the pace here today. Even just do there, look at the missed apex there through 6 and 7. Really struggling, because some of those drivers already in this race have had to serve slowdowns there. And this is rare to say this for the number 3 car, Jake, but it feels like Van Hicks is actually a cork in the champagne bottle, even if it is just Jack David Spickett. This is the sort of track that suits Jack. It's one of those tracks that he would know from open wheel racing as well. This really feels like he's got a chance, but to get that chance, he needs to get past Van Hicks now, because Lundberg is gone.
Well, this is just the moment they dropped the second, both of them locking brakes. They went through. Now, here comes traffic, and this is big for Ferran Grau, who's trying to just cut and slice and dice. Elena Jacques right now is going to be his shadow, and every car that's working through. Look at the struggle back there for Jack Wells in 4th position. He's trying to fight his way through, and they can't get the clearance needed there. Just lifting off of it was Max Mokolov there, who was just about leaving that as much. Morano into the back, and that's Laust Olsen, who will be departed away after contact there from Raul Rosses, who overshot the braking zone. And I think Laust looks at it, thinks, I can't believe that happened, only just finds reverse, and he'll need a big flick spin to get back up to pace again.
Well, he's also just found a space in the field, but not a place he wants to be. I can't believe it's not even butter out there, but it just looked to me like Ferran just going a bit too hot there. Not Ferran, sorry, it was Raul Guardia going a bit too hot, trying to make sure he made that move. Could not make the move. A man who can't also make the move is Jack David Spickett, and they're going to have, I would say, another lap of clear traffic. If they've got maps on their rigs, they'll probably see that the maps are here. A cleaner apex this time from Van Hicks. But the times say it all. 7/10 he lost to Lundberg last time. And you can see he's overshooting the corners. He's understeering away from the apex. Jack is really clean out there. So is Alessa Jack, as he's still looking for places to make moves. Jake, they're only up to the 22nd car of the field right now.
Yeah, this is Cameron Wilson and David Tomaszki that they're going to have to clear, and they've basically brute forced Tomaszki out the way and work around and look at it and see, well, they're all going to go through. Cameron Wilson just takes a natural line. Not easy there for Elena Jacques to get by. Jack Wells now is going to bring himself close in this one, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. All the while, that gap is extending out, and I do note that Raul Rosses then is down in the pit. So something has happened here to Raul that has said, day is done.
Ominous paper, and I saw the white smoke as we're going to see it right here on the replay. There it
Bang.
goes. I think it was just going over the bumper. He might have just hit the wrong gear going down into that turn 4, and that's a day done. You'll never recover from money shooting the engine. That is so unfortunate there. It opens up the opportunity. Felipe Diaz up 6, hardest charger. Powers up 4 into 5th as well. These drivers are still in a chance of a game, but it really does feel like it's best of the rest today. No one now can compete with Jacob Reed. Schuster in the GTOs still looking to get past Kundelis. Last time I checked, I think Arturus won the last time we raced here.
Well, Arturus is someone who knows how to get it up to speed, and there goes Valenteus around the outside. He is trying to drive with as much aggression as possible here to get the clearance sorted. You just saw there the Momo car in the background trying to get around Mackenzie Cook, who's now back out on circuit but has no turn through any of the corners. That was Josh Brain trying to get by, but Jack David Spickett here, who is in that third position, eyeing up Joran van Hicks then in second, realizing I haven't really got everything I want to get through. There's the Beast Racing livery of Jack Wells. That also happens to be the team that was put together by the likes of Drew Adamson, who is now a member of iRacing staff. So Jack Wells trying to work the Beast Racing car up towards third position, and at least for the moment, can't quite get it close enough to realise that Christoph Alenijak is holding his ground. Ferran Grau has pulled 1.2 seconds. Look how aggressive they have to be into these corners. They have to throw it in and hope drivers like Aitor Sintes Galindo open the steering and let them go.
Well, one of the good thing about Aitor right there is Aitor wasn't originally a GTP driver. And when you do multi-class racing, one of the things we tell people in multi-class racing, drive the slowest class. And Aitor's been on this half a year, almost a year now, of driving the slowest class. He drove around here in a GTP. He knows what it takes and what corners there. So he would have been prepared for a possible lunge there. And it goes, and now you see Jack trying to find a way through, and he does. And there, that late braking, what Jack just did, that's kind of what happened to Laus, because that's what Guardia was trying to do to make sure he could get past and keep up with Laus. And now it gets a little bit dicey right here. He's got to look for a move into the middle, goes to the outside, blocked off there by Shirley, and he gets it done.
And don't call me Shirley either, as he goes and gets that pass. Brilliant in terms of that move. Surely not, and don't call me Shirley. Martin Shirley there, the pick that goes and gets it sorted, as Shirley was battling with Krajcik and Timothy Reed, which is what has made that happen. You've got the clearance, but here's the issue. We're going to go either side the traffic. No. And just there, Roman Bello just about holds himself steady in the Greenland livery.
Yeah, and that's also just a little bit of hesitation there, trying to make sure you know where these cars are going to go. Javier Del Olmo had a great fight in the GTP last time we came here. He's got all the experience to know where the cars are going to be trying to make the moves and make the lunges. They're trying to get a bookmark now on Mickey Friesen, and Mickey had bookmarked the Laserjack not on purpose. And look how the line the GTOs have to take. They have to wash out there, and that just hinders a Laserjack here. But he gets a little bit of reprieve because Josh Brain has to take the inside there as Jack goes around the outside. So traffic give him, traffic take it away, and Andrew McCulso, the next GTP to be in the pits.
Yep, so another one that has found all of the troubles there. So that no good for Macaluso, who found the troubles. Martin Krajcik then was in a battle of his own accord then off the exit, and it still is. So we've got battles on for fourth. We've got battles on as well a little bit further down. And Macaluso, I can confirm, also a blown engine. Side by side then, it is going to be for Krajcik, who will now be eyeing up this and trying to get by Shirley. There goes Lim down on the inside, and his eye's bigger than the belly right now for everyone to find a way through. Backing out of it quite wisely goes the drama, and there's the side-by-side 29. Krajcik all out of control, just going to save Timothy Reed, and Joan Piera just gets the clearance necessary, because now Piera's got to worry about the car coming up, and Matthew Cockram. It's a case of you can't breathe around here, there's no room around here, a push wide around here, a spin around here.
Well, that's the last thing we want to see is a spin, but it's just chaotic. There were 3 cars there in that one moment that had to serve a slowdown. And one of them was Pierre, one of them was Krajcik. Shadi and Matt as well had to take a serve a slowdown as well.
Sanuda.
And the key denominator there is Shelley still going as we go back to Timothy Reed. And now Jack David Spickett just quickly, because I feel that the gap is growing so much and he can't get the pace right now, King Jack. And we just saw that moment there. You can't outbrake in a GTO. How is Jack going to make this move on Van Hicks? You can't outbrake going down into turn 1, let alone turn 2.
You just need a pick, you just need a pick, you just need a pick. He tried. It wasn't going to be quite enough there. It was Alvaro Sanuda who ended up facing the wrong way after the contact, and this was Torben Paulik just around that. Oh, that is awful to try and get in. You get run over through the fastest section of the circuit. I don't think Torben did anything wrong there. He held his line quite nicely, and he just found out wrong place, wrong time, and round you go. Now, dancing through this group there, and one gets clearance, one doesn't. So Alain Breteau will get the clearance, but critically, Davide Riccardi doesn't. He's going to have to work around the long turn 5 to get it sorted. Jack, I think you realise you are stuck.
He needs to be a little bit like jumping Jack right now because he actually needs to make this jump. I don't know if he'd be able to get a move and get on to Lundberg after this, but now 2 seconds behind. We're coming up to the halfway stage very shortly, and I do wonder if this is now, do you accept that this is a battle for second, or do you try and push home for the victory, or try and see if you can get close to the victory? Because again, remember, Lundberg, half a second faster than everybody in qualifying. That's unheard of in a GTO. And I mean at the Nordschleife or Le Mans. That is an unheard gap there, and that is the standard Lundberg had brought today. And really, if we talk about Jacob Reed just being a cut above everybody else, almost feels right now that Lundberg is just like that.
But not as much of a pull away, and I think that's the difference. Qualifying pace versus race pace is one thing. Jacob Reed has qualifying pace, and he backs it up with race pace. No, Lundberg, by comparison, it's not over. One mistake and he's right back in the group. So that's where you got to start wondering, okay, it's not quite as easy as I think it is. Now it's Cam Porter's turn to get involved in the action. He's trying to find a way to dive around the outside of Stefan Leslie for position. Stefan holds the mark well. There's the pick looking for JDS. He's been waiting for that. It's the outside of turn 3. Oh, and he got pushed out there. That is the stiff arm of the law, finding itself by Joran van Hicks, who says, I am track commander.
But I think Jack's going to try and do this again, and that was just unfortunate. It wasn't on purpose there from Van Hicks. He just wanted to make sure he could open up the corner as much as he could with a man there on at the left of him. And unfortunately, it was too much, and it just upset the apple cart that is Jack David Spickett's car. But he's still got this chance right now to look for the opportunity. But where does he do it? Now Van Hicks is going to be aware that Jack's got it. And remember, the last 2 laps, Jack has tried to late brake, and it's more of just a late drift into the corner with this GTO. He's found a way to outbrake a driver in this GTO, which is a impressive skill. And if he can keep that up, he may have just changed the game with that sort of braking, because the first thing is get it done under late braking. The second thing is slow it down under late braking. And I think he might have got it sorted.
I think so. And so now you're starting to wonder here for Jack David Spickett, if he knows he can make that move, it's a question of when, not if, and that is the difference maker that you are starting to look at. They'll see one GTP go by them. That then is going to be Cesar Hernandez, then a Mexican who jumps on by. But the Jack David Spickett, oh, another lock up there from Joram. He's forcing tiny mistakes out of this, and I think that's really critical to note. Joran van Hicks is a driver who is always title ready and contending, doesn't win every race, but is always contending at every single attempt. It's not often I see Joram look flustered out there, and locking a break up is going to be something. Jack gets a really nice run from turn 3. This is a straight up the hill. You wish you had an extra 100 meters to work with, because you could chuck it down the inside. Jack can't, and now he needs a big wide turn 5 to open up 6-7 as the next section out there on track isn't going to get the run, and will also worry behind about the 2 of Andres Felipe Diaz and Juanca Soriano.
I'll tell you what, if Jack David Spickett was Lewis Hamilton there, Van Hicks would have been Alonso. It would have been Hamilton on the radio saying Van Hicks is blocked. Joram knew what Jack was setting up for, to the point that Jack had to tap the brakes before the braking zone. Just had to keep it going. Here's the overhead of this entire battle there as Soriano just goes on by as well. Lars Dolson trying to make a recovery. He does have damage to that wing, and because of that, he holds a little bit there for Van Hicks, not on purpose, but that will help Van Hicks, because if you know I say that, he's just locked up the brakes, and again, he's just taking too much speed into corners, having to then brake to slow himself down, and it's holding Jack up a little bit here. It's not on purpose holding, it is just literally, I can't control the car through the corners holding.
These are such long corners, and you need that Audi Quattro to just hold itself up. But now here comes the chance. Inside line it will be. Jack might finally get his move. Down the inside, he's struggling to get that slowed up. He hits the apex quite nicely, but Joram can get the drive off the exit. He'll have to go around the outside of turn 2. It's off camber. You can go around the outside of turn 2 and hold the inside line at 3. Again, Jack cuts it deep. You try to cross it over, and he just nibbles at the left rear, trying to find a way by. Joram can't manage it. JDS is up to second, and more will go flying on by. Oh, Ryan Ward left it late, and that's going to be the perfect opportunity to go outside of 5, searching for Joram van Hicks to go and say, I really want to hold this second place. Side by side into the chicane at 6 and 7. Car in front goes off, but it is Jack David Spickett who holds.
It's too tight there through that chicane at 6 and 7, and he had to just yield, and Van Hicks was going to keep fighting that, and that's so unfortunate for Jack. He had that move done, and then the lap traffic comes by at the worst time, trying to make the move into turn 4, and he had to get on the brakes, was that GTP, just to show how much he had to try and get that overtake done. But that's okay. Jack's got that position he wants, but I think it might be too late. We're at the second half of the race now. He's got to try and find 4 seconds. It can be done, but more locking of the brakes here from Van Hicks. And I know that Alex Zott's in the chat with us and been hanging out with us sometimes. He mentioned that the tyres look cooked. I think that's the case for Joram. 30 Celsius track temp, 86 Fahrenheit. It doesn't matter. If you keep locking the brakes like Joram's doing, those tyres, it doesn't matter how hot or how cold it is, they're going to be crying and begging for mercy.
Speaking of which, I'm seeing Jack Wells getting very muscly around some of the traffic. He just bars Eugenio Massa out of the way, one of the GTOs, because he's trying to run away from Christopher Lenajak, who is having none of it. He's happy to sit on this and just say, look, I want this 4th or 3rd to try and get the place that I can, to know the pace that I can reach out there. As we've got that going, Mickey Friesen here in the number 8 is still continuing to try and find any amount of placement to go on the wide view back then of Mickey Friesen as he looks to set this up on Josh Brain in the Momo liveried car and still can't quite find the angle. Now, this is one of the circuits where you're not thinking 1 corner, 2 corners in advance of where I get my move, Craig. You're thinking about 15
corners, maybe even 16 corners the next lap even. Friesen makes a little bit of a mistake there. Probably thinking the GTP right behind, who's on the lead lap, or on the same lap as them technically, that's Valenteas. Probably thinking that he was just going to try and go by as Audrey goes on, limits that move there for Josh Brain. But Mickey is struggling, and we talked about the damage at the front of the car. He's not doing bad, only down 1 place. In fact, hardest charger in the GTO's not talked about it. Fabian Jungwirth up 4 into 12. Everybody's basically just swapped 1 or 2 positions today. It just goes to show it's such a tough track for the GTOs to make moves. GTPs right now, like David Ricciardi, already up 3 places. 1 granted from the Valenteas incident, 1 from the Guardia incident, but he's had to work for it as he's still looking to get past Alan Brotteau.
Christopher Cornelio is down in the pits with damage after a couple of spins out there. He's limped it back without too much more to worry about. Ricciardi here in 7th is seeing this group in front. Now, Ricciardi's been a driver who, yes, has gained places, but you're looking around at Brotteau and Seamus Power. These are drivers that do want to be running along and jumping on through. Power forcing his way by Stefan Leslie. Then as it's Frenchman and Frenchman side by side there through the middle of the corner. Brotteau trying to hold on, and then don't forget the Swiss driver just behind there of Davide Ricciardi, trying to hold his station and stay with this group of 3. So they are all holding themselves pretty nicely at this stage. But remember, they've only got 16.5 minutes to go. They've already gone through 5/8 of this race, and Elena Jacques is realising, I'm not sitting back, I'm not waiting. Look at those 2 cars in front of Brandon White and Aitor Sintez Galindo. We're going to need to get by, and suddenly it's a double checkup, and that is the reprieve.
Oh, and I think Brandon thought there was going to be a gap there as he tried to, as Aitor tried to make sure that Jack had the outside. Knew that that was the only way that GTP was going to make that move. It has cost Jack a little bit of time. Christoph a little bit of time there, as Jack trying to get on by. It's a tight area there, but this battle, very interesting. Aitor, the legend in the GTPs, the veteran in the series, now trying to hold off one of the new junior drivers. Brandon White looking for another junior title, and it's so tough out there. And again, we talk about how he was a GTP driver, now doing GTO. It's still something he's still learning, Jake. You can't just jump into the slower car and think this is going to be fine. You have to learn where the grip is, and you have to learn that you need these battles right now, and that's what Van Hicks is doing. Somehow, give him credit, he cannot get away from Jack David Spickett.
Well, Jack David Spickett just did not go off the exit of turn 1, and that's why you see the damage on the rear there, that scuffing up of the bumper, because Joram Van Hicks put the power down. Jack half missed a shift, and Joram went straight up the back, was not expecting it, and now is really going to have to try and go for it in the final 15 minutes of this race. They've got Jacob Reed directly behind, who is going to have to wait for these two to go, as we've also got Cam Porter fighting out there for 16th place side by side on the outside, trying to get through. Jacob Reed cuts one through and can't get the other, and Porter still fighting hard to get the clearance sorted. This is well fought with Shadi Ahmad, and Ahmad, the South African, can't really do anything about that. Good move, Cam.
Yeah, the Canadian Cam Porter making the move, and it was that switchback into 2. Really nice little switchback, and look at him working. We made the joke a few weeks ago that it was so hot he was sweating out there. Well, Canadians do well in the Winter Olympics. He might be a little bit cool, but he's under pressure right now, and now he gets to just look forward. He doesn't have to look in the rearview mirror. You might see a little flicker of the eye go up to the rearview mirror, but no, he's full focus, and he's going to have to look right behind because there's 2 cars battling, Pierre and Maku Cockham, and almost takes the side of Cam. Now he can breathe for a little bit more as those two go on by.
Yeah, it is a case of basically getting the tower buzzed every single time with the various cars in GTP. You just do not want to find yourself clattering about. There is your race leader, by the way, Jacob Reed. He's just gone by the GTO race leader. 12.5 seconds to the good. This is looking like, right now, between Aldris and Jacob Reed here, Craig. I want to see the comparison. A 2021 Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, because at the moment, there is clear there are 2 drivers who are head and shoulders above the rest of the field and build margins massive compared to everyone else.
There are, and there is no, I wouldn't say there's no competition, because there is competition. They all come for competition. Josh Brain looking for competition as well, as he tries to go and defend this around the outside on Mickey Friesen, and Mickey realizes as they come to 6 and 7, he has to make the yield. He's going to try a little bit of aggression, but it's not there. That door will always close, and Mickey is looking, and this now is your Hamilton-Verstappen moment. It's Verstappen with that car, trying to find the aggression. This really feels like those days of where Max would have, well, Hamilton would have the fresher tyres, and Seamus Power trying to get on by with Alain Breteau. They're all trying to go 2 at a time, 3 at a time. Can't make it done. Traffic given once again. Breteau in that gold livery, looking to find. Wait, Josh has had an understeer moment there. Now that was a lot up there from Josh, and he's still drifting. Holds it, but there is damage on that car.
Oh, what a drift to hold from Josh Brain. He'll then understeer out. Breteau has lost the place to Ricciardi, and still he'll hold the position. He just planted his foot down and said, that is mine, do not even question. There's Friesen looking again to the inside. Josh Brain is not concerned by the element of contact against him into the side. He will drift out of it like a maverick.
And that's what a lot of these GTO drivers at the top, they have that skill. We always joke, have a bit of fun at some of these drivers. They finish a race, they just go straight into drifting this car. 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And that's the nature of this car, the pedigree. This is one of the best cars on the sim to drift. I'm surprised no one's made a drifting league for this car, because that's just how good it is. But you need that control. If you can drift a GTO, you can save a GTO. And we always joke, the top coaches say, if you can't crash a car, you can't. You can drift one of these cars, you got to catch it, and that's really good work. And I look at the top 10 of this cat in this class right now, I say about half of them, you can drift it. Mickey, he's trying to make it like it's 2 shopping carts locked in the container at the front of a supermarket.
Well, for the moment, Mickey Friesen has been nibbling and nibbling and nibbling at the rear there of Josh Brain, as if that was a piece of cheese that he's got to try and get on and get through. So for the moment, Mickey is trying everything he can. He's tried to go left, he's tried to go right, he's tried to go up, he's tried to go down, he's even tried to go through it. So what are you going to do in terms of finding that move? This is tough. In terms of passes, Brandon White with a bit of side-by-side as well. Keep focus on third in GTP. Look at what's going on through here with Brandon White, because they're all trying to find lanes to attack. It's Laust Olsen and Andres Felipe Diaz. Just through on the pair of them is Juan Casoriano. But White, outside line, it is going to be Aitor who still holds, and Riccardi trying to deal with Alain Berteau, who has got back through then for position. This is really tough to deal with. Laust Olsen's going to pick up the run off the exit. He'll steal a march, but they're still going to be side by side. Look at them, nothing between them.
Nothing between them, and all of a sudden, Aitor's got more power, more run down here, and they're still going to go side by side. Who's the last of the late breakers? They broke at the same time, but finally, Brandon gets that run, and Aitor nowhere to go. Little bit of a slide, he captures it. Brandon set that move up, through down there into turn 12, holds it side by side for 3 corners. That's a really good move on an experienced driver, and Brandon managed to get that. The respect given is been earned, or had been earned, and now I wonder how far he can pull ahead of Aitor. If he had a mistake breaking like that into 4, it won't be long.
So the story's right now. You've got a battle for third in GTP. You've got a battle for second in GTO. We're focused on the battle for third in GTP, because look at Elena Jacques. Forces Jack Wells defensive. There in front of them, a Momo livery car. It is not the car of Josh Brain. That's Yoni Berg that they've got to try and get by. Wells just hunted down at the moment, and Christoph, I think, is the tide at the moment that everyone is looking for. He is currently inevitable. Speaking of which, all the way to the pit wall goes Jack David Spickett, trying to keep Joran Van Hicks at bay. Van Hicks trying the outside line. Now he can get the drive off the exit here, and he'll have the inside for 2. That is just world class.
World class. Will almost look like Hamilton Barrichello. It's still looking like Hamilton Barrichello, but a lock up from Jack, and the door has been open and shut. Nowhere there for Jack to go, and you've got to give the respect. Tried as much as he could to fight that on the inside of 1. To make him move around the outside in a GTO is impressive, and now Jack's getting held up by traffic. Cockerham, Vieira, Brendan Lim in front's got a slowdown as well. This may also hold up Van Hick, and Jack may get back into this battle. 2.5 seconds behind them is Arturus Kundelis. Never say never, and that's a no move there. That's a slowdown for Van Hicks. It isn't, should have been, but that's a no move there from Vieira.
No, you can't just go diving down the inside and expect the car to disappear. That's the biggest thing you've got to remember. Just because you can get there doesn't mean that the car that is there will be nice to you when you reach the apex. That is very, oh, I made the apex, so it's my court. No, that's not how it works. But for the moment, it is Jack David Spickett who is now going to be eyeing up a way to get back. They are 6 seconds off of Noel Lundberg. Forget Noel, he's out there, he's gone, he's at the front. Oh, and Jack has to get well out of the way. Cesar Hernandez gets to the apex, and Jack was just about ready to turn. He had to deload everything.
Yeah, remember, this might be an F1 track, but it's not F1. It's not first to the apex, gets the corner. And you have to give the respect there. And Jack, if he turned in, could have been all for nothing for him there. So that is unfortunate as Noel Lundberg continues on. He's just having a Sunday drive. And hello, have you heard something there? I see Aitor Centescalindo going down the order.
Yeah, he's been turned by Christopher Cornelio, and he has gone backwards into the tyres at turn 9 out on track. Not often you see a car off at 9. Something often has to happen between 2 cars for a car to be off. There you can see Cornelio just gets off the curb funny, and Aitor is just the passenger at that point. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, I was wondering when I first looked at it at full speed, was that because of the car trying to make a move that was not there? But I think it was just the car unsettled, getting a couple tyres in the grass and just upsetting that car. And I think that's what cost it. This battle's going to be interesting, though, because you can see Jack really trying to push home at this, but just can't get the run. That curb on the exit there, Jake, you know F1, you know the GP Championship, you know that it's a curb to use. but it's a little bit of an offset camber there. It will slow you down if you use it too much. He's really tried. Mickey Friesen doesn't need to use that, but he's still hunting down for moves, still trying to get past to Josh Brain. But this is absolutely fantastic. With 5.5 minutes to go, you've got about 4 crucial battles out there.
It's also the sort of corner where you need to ask people like Timo Glock, you need to ask people like Pierre Gasly what happens when you get on the AstroTurf on the outside. Elena Jacques just stuck at about 2.5 tenths of a second, just unable to nibble on in a bit more, unable to cut down that gap a bit more. This is the frustrating part of racing at the Hungaroring out there. It is as difficult as you possibly can, and it's also worth noting that if you are a big fan of the Gran Turismo movie, this place is also Le Mans.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where you would have a long straight for Le Mans, but you'd be able to have a little bit of a flip, Anthony Davidson style, just to make sure things go okay. Okay, Christoph, what can you do? Last time we were here at this track, 2 years ago, just under 2 years ago, we saw Togo Hisada at these corners on the last lap go around the outside of Javier Del Olmo to get P4. I'm not saying that Christoph can do it. I'm saying it's doable. And if Jack goes a little bit wide in the final corner like he just had, that's going to open the door up. Nick Jones would just be a little bit of a back marker, a little bit of toe, and they're catching Ferran Grau all of a sudden. He's had a shocker of a lap, almost 2 seconds slower. Don't say never. We need to find 2 people out of these 3 for the podium, and Jack Gordon's gone around.
Cam gets a half slide. There's no contact, but it's brought everyone together. Elena Jacques going to the outside now. Jack Wells trying to get aggressive down the inside now. Look at this. It's a 3-car scrap all of a sudden per second. No chance on the inside for Christoph, but you've brought the group together. Seamus Power now and Alain Breteau are also close in this scrap, but say it isn't so. 4 minutes to go. Ferran, you've been cautious. Now hold your nerve.
But the question is, has he saved the tyres because of that? Look at Christoph. He knows it's serious. He's having to just almost do an excuse me move on Brandon White. He'll lose a couple tenths because of that, but it's all okay. Still got time. Still knows there's traffic still going. The only clean part of the track right now is between turn 1 and turn 2. That's how chaotic the field is right now for these drivers. Christoph's not in the best place in this battle right now. And if Ferran gets past his car of Martin Shirley not, he is, you know, he's going to put a bookmarker in front of these 2. That may help him.
Well, car off in front of them, though. That's Matthew Miles trying to limp this one back to pit. So obviously troubles there for the Canadian trying to get back onto circuit. It's worth noting Stefan Leslie, by the way, has hit the instant point limit, so he's going to have to come down in, serve a drive-through penalty late with 2:55 remaining on the clock. It is busy at the moment, but there is reprieve out there at this stage for a driver like those around of Ferran Grau. This is Jack Wells, and this is what he would have seen in front then. So Cam just loses it on the exit, tries to fight it with power, realises he can't, jams on the binders, and that's how quickly you got to be aggressive, and that's how close he was to getting down the inside.
Almost had it, and that corner's got so many different ways you can exit it, trying the best he can. Christoph gets held up by traffic. That's unfortunate, but he'll get it back again as more guys go. Hey, this is cuss. Nissan GTP livery on a GTO, then a Nissan LMP1 livery on a GTO. Very cursed right there. 5 Nissans in a row, if you count that. But Jack still looking, but the traffic's working for Ferran more than it's working for these 2, and Jack tried to be aggressive through that corner, could not, and that's a little bit of a tap there. I think he may have had a wiggle getting on the throttle. He's getting impatient. He knows the P2's up for offer with 1:50 left to go. There's only going to be 1 lap after this one.
Yeah, he got basically a door full, did Martin Krejcik, and he's a driver who is very well respected in endurance, in vintage circles out there. He is someone who always goes and drives his best. Look at the damage there on the front of Romain Bello's Audi at the moment there. He is trying to limp that back to home out there, but for the moment they know they've got a couple battles left. Mickey Friesen hasn't given up against Josh Brain, for example. That's going to be pretty critical, as is Jack Davis-Pickett and Joran van Hicks, that are still going for second. This is the chase down the hill into turn 2. And Mickey, you've tried every way to try and get that move. Your car is looking a little bit worse for wear, but now you're going to have to find something perfect and late.
And more importantly, he knows that traffic will be coming. He won't know that it's 2, 3, and 4 battling for the last podium spot. But again, Ferencváro gets by, and they're coming up to right now. Here they go. Mickey tries to do a move around the outside. It's going to be held off, though, by Josh, who just gets it going. And they'll approach the chicane. And Mickey knows he has to just wait it, but he goes in deep, carries a bit too much speed, and fast in means slow out, that he's going to have to yield to Ferren, trying to make this move, and Ferren's doing this to make sure he can just get another 2 cars ahead of him. This is a crucial point for the multi-class, because this allows it to make it oh so close. They all go. Christoph probably safer because Jack made the move. Mickey, nowhere to be found in this battle.
Jacob Reed starts the final lap as he makes the pass on Noel Lumberg, so that makes it so easy for everyone to know. This is the white flag lap. You've got to be at your level best. Nick Jones coming down late then, in for a pit stop. A masterful gap combined for them both of 23 seconds. Alenijak is hoping beyond hope that he's got one final chance to get at Jack Wells, but he has taken every risk available. He has held off the gap that has been necessary, and Ferencváro has just been able to pull himself away from this, and he'll only have the likes of Andreas Schuster and Arturus Kandelis to go and deal with. For Joran van Hicks, he's been able to pull out about a half a second. That's going to serve him in good stead in the final stages of this race. They clear Andreas Schuster up the hill, but look at Alenijak. Hunt and Harry looking to try and get any pass he can done late on in the runnings here at the Hungaroring, knowing how critical every point is going to be, but knowing that they've got to get by Arturus, and that's the last bone of contention that they will have to deal with. Jacob Reed is 2 corners away from what has been a simply sterling drive. He has been a driver who has known at what level his talent has. He's a former pro stripe, you must say, when it came to the likes of that brilliant Dallara IR04. Jacob Reed to the line, and it's something about Brits being amazing in Hungaroring, because he wins and potentially the title as well. It will be Noel Lumberg to the line. He will come and cross, and he will take honours today for the band of others, never really in doubt. But second, third, and fourth, they're in the back. Look at them, pretty much throw a blanket on them as they finish.
You got to throw a blanket, and you got to admit, a track that is tight for overtaking has produced some fantastic battles today, and it is so amazing to see them move of the day by Van Hicks. Mickey Friesen will not get past Josh Brain. Tried everything to go. Gets it done. A little bit of an apology from Jack to Johan, and Cam Porter still getting on there. Nothing to drive for. It's just for pride. Get to the finish line. That's all you want. Valenteus just ahead of him. Key thing here, Jake. Now, Audrey doesn't have any drop rounds left. That's still a 15th place. It's points. Had he just called it a day, he never would have got points. If the end of the championship comes down to about 20 points or 5 points, you can circle this race. Might have just saved it for him.
Well, he'll be on life support for his championship as he crosses the line. He knows it's only his internet to blame for that one today, and this is why you race every round of a championship, because if you don't and something like this happens, you can't use today as a drop round, and Aldrius knows it, and from the 8,700 I rating that he's got, he'll be dropping down a little bit more. Joran van Hicks then just bringing his car back to home then as he has finished, and all drivers, I believe, are just about finished out there with racing action. And so we will get the opportunity to run through your official classified results then here today from this beautiful Hungaroring, and it proves once more that Jacob Reed is the hot knife through butter that nobody else seems to have a solution to cool down. Get some ice. 18 seconds is the margin he has over Ferencváro. Jack Wells will finish off in third, and Christophe Alenijak there in fourth position. Just 1 second splitting all those drivers then as it stands. Alain Berteau will end up in fifth ahead of Seamus Power. Davide Riccardi would drop back late, with Brendan Lim in 8th position ahead of Matthew Cockerham, and Joan Piera making up the top 10. Ultimately, it's a day where big gaps have formed. Cesar Hernandez 11th and Juan Casoriano there in 12th position. Laust Olsen had his little turnaround with Raul Rosses and would be unhappy around that 13th, with Andres Felipe Diaz and critically 1 lap down, Algius Valenterius. That is points, but not many. Keep that in mind for car number 1. Alvaro Sonoda would be 5 laps down, your first retiree, along with Christopher Cornelia, who got into Aitor Salintes Galindo. Ryan James Ward would be out. So too Andrew Macaluso with a blown engine. And also with a blown engine, Raul Rosses Guardia would be the final one out then in GTP. Over to Craig King now with GTOs.
Well, 1, 2, and 3 finished 1, 2, and 3, but that's not the story of the day. Noel Lundberg started with a blistering pole, finished with a blistering finish, 6 seconds ahead of Van Hicks and Jack David Spickett, who were battling tooth and nail there for 2nd and 3rd, respectively. Arturas Kundalis won the last time we were here, still gets a respectable P4 ahead of Andreas Schuster in 5th, and Josh Brain got ahead of Mickey Friesen, that's 6th and 7th, respectively, with Javier Del Olmo, a very quiet 8th today with Roman Bello in 9th. Martin Craytrick, great point today for the junior. He finishes in 10th. And then we get to the hardest charger of the day in GTO. Up 5 places for Fabian Jungbluf in 11th, with Timothy Reed staying in 12th. Martin Shirley did not have the day he wants, down 5 into 13th, with Brandon White in 14th. And then Shadi Ahmad will take 15th, just getting the better of Cam Porter, who finished in 16th. Stephanie Leslie had to take a penalty drive-through, but finishes in 17th, with Marcos Roman Vasquez in 18th. And then 1 lap down, Eugenio Massa in 19th. David Thomas Guy will be in 20th. Just 1 more page. The driver's still driving. Yoni Berg was a lap down in 21st. Matthew Miles as well in 22nd. Max Mochalov will be in 23rd, with Nick Jones down 2 laps down. Aitor Sintes Galindo took an early retirement in 25th. Cameron Wilson also had to do a little bit of engine repairs in 26th. So did Forbin Pollock in 27th, and Mackenzie Cook retired early in 28th.
A tough day at the office for many to consider, but a day in which it is written for many that they can be as happy as can be for. We are going to take this chance to chat with one of our drivers, Cam Porter, here to have a little bit of a word with us. And Cam, in front of 2nd, 3rd and 4th, a massive slide to go and deal with. How do you get out of jail with that?
I'm sorry, Jake, I didn't hear your question. Could you repeat it?
How on earth do you get out of jail with the slide that you had in front of 2nd, 3rd and 4th in GTP?
Oh gosh, I had several unintentional drifts today. I used Andreas Valenterius set, and he had a lot of turbo out in the car, so you had to be really judicious with the throttle application. And I was trying to stay ahead of Shaddy and just have maybe catch Brandon White at the end, and just overdrove the car clearly, and had a few incidents. I got to apologize to Matthew Cockrum because he was just about to lap me, and I touched the dirt on the right side, which kind of made my car swerve to the left, and I hit him and put myself off. So apologies for that one, but it was a pretty thrilling race today, no matter how you slice it.
When you jump in and you get a setup from a driver who is incredibly quick like Aldrius, how long does it take for someone like you to try and understand what he's trying to put down, how to drive it, the ease of how it drives, and really to understand a set? How long does it take for you to get up to speed with someone else's work?
Well, usually it's only a few laps to get accustomed to, how it's handling. Thanks to everybody that puts really hard work into their sets and shares them for free on the Discord channel for this series. So, yeah, usually not long, but I usually make a few adjustments. Like brake balance is usually the biggest thing. I'll put it forward a little bit for my own taste. But again, thanks to everybody for sharing their sets, and really appreciate their work.
Let's talk next time out then, because Fuji International Speedway is on the smorgasbord of action. So for a circuit without the chicane to be run, but is normally a tale of two halves, do you think that that's going to be another one of these circuits, those big, long corners that you get through the 300 and the 100, that you're going to see a lot of flying GTPs going around you? And how confident do you feel about it?
I quite like that track, actually. I've had pretty good luck there, I think, and I usually have reasonable pace compared to my other tracks. So I'm actually looking forward to Fuji. And yes, it is tricky managing the traffic because of the the long sweeping corners exacerbate the speed difference between the two cars. But there's good passing opportunity on the front straight, obviously, and if you're really aggressive, you can pass in a few places in the middle of the track as well. So, looking forward to Fuji. Thanks.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you there and racing. Cam Porter there joining us in 16th. The result today from a starting position of 13th on the grid. That will just about do it for us here around this fantastic Hungaroring. But as we just alluded to, in 7 days' time, the championship efforts will continue. There's no chicane at Fuji Speedway for those to go and battle with. And they will know and understand here as part of a Genesis Extreme production that Fuji is always a circuit that brings up the unexpected. You can catch that February 21st at 5 p.m. UTC. It is, of course, 12 p.m. Eastern for that, and we are getting set for what is some fantastic racing action coming to you just around the corner. From what is also coming up very soon on the horizon, keep in mind that tomorrow we'll be heading over with some brilliant running for the Classic Lotus Grand Prix. We'll be going to Circuit Park Zandvoort for that one, and that will be a good strong battle then at 4:30 UTC, 11:30 Eastern. On Thursday, we'll be back with the Skip Barber Racing School over at the 300 layout of Snetterton, so it is going to be a hard-fought battle over there on the 19th, and then on the 21st, back again with Grand Prix legends, because you will have Osher Schleben to tackle with the 49s, and then, of course, the aforementioned Fuji that we had earlier on. From the team that has brought this to you today, from Christian Deploy, who has been in the director's chair, the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. You've got Craig King, who's been alongside me. My name is Jake Sperry. This is one where you say, sometimes certain circuits suit certain drivers. We were robbed of the big battleground today between Jacob Reed and Aldris Valenterius, but you race what's in front of you, and ultimately it's I will survive, but my championship is very much hanging on to the cliffs with fingernails. As far as GTO goes, the day belongs in the band of others, and you wouldn't say it's a yes or a no in terms of where the championship will go. Yes, there was no Cal Young. No, that doesn't mean he's out the championship with a non-show result here today. Joran van Hick still very much in it, but the looming threat comes along from behind. Noel Lundberg getting the job done in GTO, and so the circus moves on. And as we head over to the shadow of Mount Fuji, that Fuji Speedway will once again prove and test whose metal is the one that will not break.
This is iRacing.